Hey, what's up? How are you? I think you're muted.
Can you hear me? There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
How you doing, Alex?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for hopping on.
Of course. I love doing this stuff.
Yep. So welcome to episode 102 of Hoop Talk Fanatics. I'm here with Villanova men's basketball reporter Dylan Johnson, recapping uh, an interesting Villanova regular season and a lot of moves with the portal and everything else. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, man.
Yep. What were your initial thoughts on how the regular season and the NCAA tournament one
Yeah, I mean,
was
I mean,
was like?
yeah, I mean, I think it went really well for where the program was at. You come off three straight seasons of not having a tournament appearance. You have some struggling seasons, obviously no losing seasons, but you have a lot of inconsistencies across the board. And you replace it with Kevin Willard after Kyle Neptune departed the program, and you really had a great season. You had the most road wins in Big East Conference history for Villanova, program record. You had some nice wins, most wins as a first-year head coach for Kevin Willard. He really turned this program around quickly for what he had, for the offseason that he had, for the money that he had to spend. And the biggest thing for this program was getting back to the NCAA tournament. And I think they did a really good job at setting themselves up for future success. Obviously, it's a stepping stone. I don't think anyone thought that they were going to go ahead and win a championship in year one with Kevin Willard, but they definitely are going in the right path. Unfortunate ending to the NCAA tournament, first round to Utah State, but I think this really stepped the program up to put them in a good spot to kind of get back to the way Jay Wright used to do things.
Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts on how Kevin Willard how his role played out during his first season with Villanova?
Yeah, I mean, I think Kevin Willard had big shoes to fill, right? Because a lot of people here at Villanova are going to compare every coach that comes in here to Jay Wright, to Rolly Massimino. So when you have two guys like that who really won championships here at Villanova, and especially Jay Wright, who made this a national name at Villanova on the main line, you have a lot of shoes to fill. And Kyle Neptune obviously couldn't hold up to that. Obviously, he's a really good coach, really good person, but he just couldn't fill the shoes of what Jay Wright was able to accomplish in his 20-some years that he was here on the main line. So I think Kevin Willard did a really good job at filling the shoes early. I think he has a lot of work to do with this program. This program is nowhere near where it used to be, but that's where we think that's how things have to start. So I think he really propped up well. I think he does a great job at recruiting, and now he has to do a good job at retaining, which he's kind of struggled to do this offseason, but we'll see if he can accomplish that in the years to come.
Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts on the transfer portal moves that have happened over the course of the couple of weeks this past weekend and more?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I think when we talked about getting together to talk about this, it was only a couple guys in the portal. And now you have about 7, maybe 9 if you want to count 2 guys who left the program during the year. So you only have 2 returners now at this point. You have a Caden transfer. I think that's the biggest loss, one of the biggest losses across the entire country. I think that's a top 10 loss right there in the portal. Obviously, he goes to Miami. I think he's going to do well there. He succeeds there. I think Dante Allen's going to step up and play really well with him, which ended up being almost 2 Villanova guys, ended up only being 1. But I think he'll succeed at Miami. I think he'll do really well, but that's a loss for Villanova, and I think that's a huge loss. When you look at the transfer losses across the board, you have Bryce Lindsey, who was a shooter, did really well to start the season, but then struggled in the back half, ended up averaging single digits through kind of the back of Big East play, but then really stepped it up in that NCAA tournament game against Utah State. Almost had a season high, but just couldn't come up with it and couldn't get the W. But I think there's a lot of losses, and I think the biggest thing that Kevin Willard talked about when he came in here was recruiting high school talent, was retaining players for maybe 2, 3, even 4 years. And he's really struggled to do that here. As you look at this, that's just the fact of the offseason. You lose Malachi Palmer today. You lose Chris Jeffrey this week. You lose a redshirt freshman in Nico Onyekwer. You lose a bunch of guys who are kind of sitting here waiting to kind of prosper as the years went on. He talked about rewarding Chris Jeffrey at the end of the season as they entered that Utah State game. But just everyone kind of departs, and you're left with Matt Hodge and Tyler Perkins. So really, when you look at the start of the season, you're left with one returner who's healthy. Obviously, Matt Hodge's timetable to return is kind of unknown, whether that's late in the Big East schedule or maybe come towards the end of the non-conference schedule, depending on how fast he can heal from the ACL tear. you're really looking at a team who's kind of not going to be anything like it was last year. It's going to be a completely new roster, completely retooled, completely different look. And you're going to have to look for, learn new names on the back of the jerseys. So I think it's been a really crazy time. I think they've had some good pickups. Kwame Evans Jr. from Oregon was a really good pickup, in my opinion. I've talked about a lot. I think Villanova needs to attack size and athleticism in this portal this year, and I think they've landed 2 forwards who do that really well. Also in Devin Royal from Ohio State. These guys move really well. I think Kwame Evans, if you ask a lot of people 4 years ago when he was a freshman, he could have been a top 10 lottery pick, maybe top 20 pick in the NBA draft if he would have went out as a freshman, but he stayed in college. Kind of struggled around, when he ended up at Oregon, but I think he has a really good ability to kind of make a big dent in this program, averaging 13 points last year. So there's only 2 pickups, but I think they're really strong. So really the big thing now is they're lacking depth. They have a lot of roles to place, a lot of scholarships to fill, and that's what Willard has to do kind of here over the next week, maybe 2, even 3 weeks from now, is to rebuild a roster and make it completely brand new.
Talk a little about what you do during the season, a day in life of Dylan, and how do you prepare yourself for the day on game days and non-game days?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love basketball, I love reporting. I love doing this. I love covering Villanova basketball. It's not my only thing I do. Obviously, I'm a full-time student here at Villanova, so it's kind of a juggle of 2 different jobs that I have to do. So it's always early mornings, late nights. I wake up early. I always make sure I can get stuff in, get stuff done. Balance that with classes. Usually got 2 or 3 classes a day, depending, Monday through Friday. So I have to tackle those first. Make sure you keep the grades up. Want to graduate from here in a year. So looking forward to doing that. But on top of that, when it comes to just reporting solely, it's a lot of back and forth with a lot of people. You're talking to a lot of people. You're in constant communication with not just the people that you want to talk to in terms of reporting, getting information from people, but you're also talking to your staff. As an editor-in-chief here at the student newspaper, I'm always talking to people, making sure we're managing our paper, not just for sports, but for all the other sections like news, culture, opinion. So that's a lot of, that's 7 days a week, 24/7 almost, besides what I'm sleeping, is just making sure that everything's on top of everything. And we're really handling everything. When it comes to basketball specifically, I'm always making sure that I'm up to date on news. I think a lot of people, like myself, I'm reading a lot about Villanova basketball. I'm reading other writers. I'm reading a bunch of information, stats. My goal is always to try to be 8 steps, 10 steps ahead of what, people are learning about. So a lot of times when people learn about something, I'm trying to learn about that before they learn about it. And that's kind of the hustle that, comes with sports journalism, comes with sports reporting, is knowing about things kind of before they happen or kind of how they come together. When it comes to stuff like that on a game day, usually it starts with an early morning run. Always love to run, but then when it goes into the day, you got to kind of have to lock in. It's a lot. A lot of people think when the game tips off, that's when my job starts. But the whole day is just kind of getting to the arena, whether that be travel across the country, down the road, walk across the campus. It's getting there, talking to people. It's a lot of, information gathering when you're there before games, learning about people, talking to people, networking, getting to meet other journalists, getting to meet other reporters, but also talking to coaches, players, and stuff like that after the game. So really a 2.5-hour game that you might see on TV really for me is maybe even 6 hours sometimes of work. Just on one day. Like I said, it's early mornings, late nights, and I'll never trade them for the world, but it's a lot of work that goes into it, and you're making sure that you stay on top of things. And I really think that's kind of the day in the life for me, is just making sure I can balance everything. It's a large workload, but it's something that I love to do. It keeps me going.
Do you get the chance to go to any other sporting events on campus during your free time?
Yeah, I mean, in the free time that I have, I feel like every kind of sporting event I go to is some type of work. But I always make sure I get out to the football games. I cover a lot of those during the football season. I don't think people realize how successful Villanova football's program is here on campus. FCS program was 1 game away this last season from making the FCS championship. So they're doing really well under Mark Ferrante. I love going out to those games. I think they're really great environments. Other free time, I'm always making sure I check out. We have some really successful track programs here. Penn relays are coming up next weekend, which I'll be there from Thursday to Saturday next week. I think people also don't realize how storied our track program is here at Villanova. We have some great other teams. We have, both field hockey teams right now are doing great in the fall. Lacrosse, especially, women's just beat number 2 Stanford, which is probably one of the biggest wins in the country. So being able to see those games when I get the chance, it's few in there, but when I'm not covering a game, I always make sure I kind of try to at least stay on top of sports and watch them either, on my phone or watch the highlights. But I do make it out to a decent amount of games. outside of basketball.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on Kwame Evans, and how how do you think Villanova will do with his addition to the team?
Yeah, I mean, Kwame Evans, I kind of mentioned about earlier. He's really athletic and he's tall. You know, he reminds me, like when I tell people and when Villanova related, he reminds me like a Wooga Poplar, but just a little stronger. I think he could be a really good wing if he really can apply himself. He did really well at Oregon State, averaged 13.7 points per game. I think he has a really good opportunity to kind of be kind of a wing here at Villanova if he really wants to do that. Obviously, we'll have to see come season, what he really slots in to be, whether it's a 4 or a 3. But I think he's going to do a really good job here. His height and athleticism, he moves really well. I think he has this, I think the only thing that he's missing is kind of this, this mentality to attack to get things done. If he kind of can get a Josh Hart type mindset for those Villanova fans and really attack and play with, some type of, poise, I really think that can unlock his game here at Villanova. I think Kevin Willard's a coach that can probably pull that out of somebody, and I think he probably sees that. But he just has to have that attack mentality. In terms of just pure athleticism, he has it. It's just being able to put that out on the court, and I think it's going to be a really good pickup for Villanova if they can fill out their guard spots. I think they have really strong forward spots. If they can pick up a center and a couple guards, I think Kwame Evans is going to be a good piece to build around in this transfer portal.
What have you been hearing, and what's your prediction of a couple other commits you think Villanova will make in the coming days?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough right now. I know they're hosting a couple visits. When it comes to players like that, I know they just hosted DJ Wagner here last week. It's looking like he might be heading somewhere else, whether that might be Maryland or another program. But I think he would be a really good pickup if Villanova could land him. I think he's not 100% lock, but I do think he would be a nice guard pickup, whether that's in the starting lineup or a backup role if he wants to take on that and kind of give up the starting ability. But I really do think that Villanova needs to attack guards coming up here in the next coming days and the week. I know they hosted Jake Finnegan from Cornell, who was here on campus on Wednesday. I think he's a really good guard, and he could really attribute well to this Villanova program. And they just got to push for it. He's a Cornell guy that finished up his 4 years in an Ivy League, so he's looking for a new program that has good athletics, but also good academics. And that's what a lot of those Ivy League guys look like Ethan Roberts from Penn went to Notre Dame. So I think there's a really good chance that Villanova, who's kind of in his Final Four, could land him, but obviously he's looking at other programs. So that's kind of a toss-up right now. And then obviously this weekend, another guard that the Villanova is looking at, and they need guards. Obviously they lost 2 of their best guards, is Mikey Lewis from St. Mary's. I think he would also be another incredible pickup for Villanova. But again, obviously can't really speak much on that because he hasn't been here, hasn't visited. So right now he's just a visit. And hopefully Willard can kind of put together a package to make it enticing enough to land him and start off their guard roles in the transfer portal.
Mm-hmm. For next season, will you be making the trip to Rome to cover the game?
I mean, that's the goal, man. I'm really excited. When I heard about the reports in February that they were going to be doing this Rome game, I thought about it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime type experience. It's my last year here at Villanova as a senior. I wouldn't trade it for the world to be able to go out to Rome, so I'm really looking forward to possibly getting out there. I would love for our, other staff members here at the Villanova and the student newspaper to get out with me. So we're really looking forward to kind of getting some money together, raising some funds to be able to go out to Rome and watch Villanova play basketball in a different city, which is the first time in men's basketball history. I think the women played in Paris a couple of years ago. Not Villanova, but the women's basketball, in general, kicked off their season in 2023 in Paris. But it's a first for everything. Pope possibly can make an appearance. I think it's going to be a really exciting time for Villanova fans and Notre Dame fans. And I'm looking forward to trying whatever it takes to get out there on November 1st.
Yeah, my last question is, what are your early thoughts on how Villanova's potential season will be like come next year?
Yeah, I mean, a lot's up in the air right now. Like we just talked about, only a couple guys on this team. You got one recruit in Adam O as a freshman. You got Tyler Perkins and Matt Hodge coming back. And then right now you only have Kwame and Devin Royal in the transfer portal. So you got 5 of the 15 scholarships filled up. So really a lot's up in the air, but I think Villanova is going to have a really strong non-conference schedule that they're going to attack. Obviously, they're going to be playing the defending national champions, Michigan. They're going to be looking at playing Notre Dame in Rome, which will just be a tough trip with travel, et cetera, and everything like that. They're going to be playing the second home and away game of Wisconsin. They're going to be playing Pitt again. So some tough teams on that schedule that's coming up. And obviously the non-conference schedule hasn't been fully filled out. So you could be looking at some possible more stronger opponents. I know Willard kind of didn't really get to pick his non-conference schedule last year when he came in here as head coach. He was kind of already set up. So I think he's going to really attack making strong quad one games come non-conference. And then when you look at the Big East, I think the Big East is going to be a really tough conference next year. I think Providence is doing a really good job this year on the transfer portal, bringing in new guys with a coaching change. And then you got, Seton Hall and St. John's and all those guys, obviously. UConn, I mean, I forget to mention them, but they're going to be a powerhouse again. I think this is going to be one of the biggest Big East conferences you've seen in a while, at least myself. I think it's going to be really strong top to bottom, and it's going to be really competitive come the end of the season, especially in the Big East tournament. But I think Villanova has a chance to do really well. They just have to really nail down these transfers because that's the only way they have right now to fill out this roster since all these recruits and freshmen are kind of all signed up.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to come on and talk Villanova basketball. And I'll definitely have you back on towards the beginning of the season, next season, and throughout the season. And I'm looking forward to being in touch with you the rest of the off season and bright days ahead for sure.
Yeah, definitely, Alex. I'm excited to see this next season, man.
Yeah, same. Thank you again. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too, Alex. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you.